It's the one, the only Alcor Star Child here, and I wanted to talk about the Anunnaki coming back. Are they coming back this year? You know, it says in that book, then Return of the Anunnaki Code 2022, that they come back this year. And a lot of people are wondering, is that book full of crap or is it true? I can't tell you if that's 100% accurate, whether that book is or not. Here's what I can tell you. There are a lot of things that do line up this year, specifically in this year, with what is said in that book. And because those things line up, it makes it look like, hey, this may be possible. Let's take a look at the fact that World War III did not start in 2021. It started this year. The whole thing with Russia going over to Ukraine started this year, right? And that sparked off all this stuff with a ton of war. The whole world is going to go into a complete war, right? Like the whole thing with China, they definitely will hit Taiwan. It's going to happen. But once they make their move, then that's going to force Japan to have to act. And the thing is everybody thinks that America is going to get tied up into a war with China. And I don't truly believe that's what's going to happen. I think that from the stuff that I look at and research, I look at India has more at stake in going to war with China. So you're going to have India fighting China and Japan getting involved. And while all that's going on, that's going to open up the door for North Korea to move in on the South Koreans. And when North Korea, and China wants North Korea to run South Korea, because once that becomes all one Korea under the Kim regime, which this is all connected to 1972, but whatever, I won't get into that, because apparently the humans aren't able to understand and comprehend that. But once they go in there and they take over all of Korea, it keeps America completely away from China. It's important for North Korea, for the Chinese to see North Korea take over South Korea. So they're going to get help from the Chinese because they're right there. They're on the border. They're right there. They're going to get help. Where you're going to see that America is going to get bogged down, the war they're going to get bogged down in is over going to be back in the Middle East. That's right. America is going to go back to the Middle East. And that's because Iran is going to go to war with Is Not Real. And if you don't know this, Is Not Real is a shadow state of America. So when Is Not Real goes to war with Iran, America has to go. It's a non-negotiable thing. They will be forced to send troops. Once the troops go over there and they start shipping out to go over there to that war to fight another war in the Middle East, which all leads to Anunnaki, right? Because where were those tablets found? But once they get over there into the war with the Middle East, then that's going to set up everything for the fall of America. And I've said this last year in a video where I said it's going to be civil, global, and galactic war. And once the troops start going over there, and you see this already lined up right now with them raiding Donald Trump's house, compound, whatever the hell you want to call it, Mar-a-Lago, with them raiding that and stuff, the Trump troops, the Trump troops, the real Trump troops, are getting geared up for civil war. But they really need the military, American military, to mostly move out so that way they won't be here to help fight against the Trump troops. Right? So the Civil War is going to happen. It has to happen. There has to be a collapse of America. They have to appoint the Donald Trump as the first king of America. This stuff's all lined up because he'll never be president again, regardless of what your stance is. I'm sorry if you're hung up on left-right paradigm or racist paradigm or whatever the hell you're hung up on. The fact is he'll never be president again. They'll never just let him get voted in. Right? You can't say that the last presidency was a fraudulent presidency and then say, oh, well, we'll get him next time in the next vote. That doesn't even make any damn sense. It's a contradiction in itself. But, the Civil War will kick off. That's going to happen. Will all that happen before September? I don't know, because, they're saying in that book that September is when Anunnaki come back. Maybe they don't make it back until November, or maybe even around December, November, December, before they come here. It's just enough time for all these events to happen. And then you look at all of those events that happen to get the whole world into total chaos and the whole world into total war. And this whole thing with nuclear threats, we know that the alien stuff is going to start to become very prevalent. We know that the veil is going to lift at that point. That's a perfect time for the Anunnaki to show up, right? That's a perfect time for them to show up. And you look at all the other things that are going on, right? Would you look at the fact that America's trying to move people away from meat? Right? They want you to get off meat. Well, the Anunnaki doesn't want you to eat meat. America overturned Roe v. Wade. Well, Anunnaki look at abortion as an abomination to ever do that. To have an abortion in their, and as far as that book is concerned, to have an abortion in their eyes is like it's like a major no-no. Like you don't do that. Now, I'm not saying whether what you should do with your body or shouldn't, or who you should hate and who you should not hate. I don't care. I don't care what your agendas are. You're never going to change. If you're listening to me and it's making you angry or anything, you know, I accept you for who you are. I accept that that's who you are. I'm not telling you to change. I'm just telling you that, look, these things are lining up for what that book says for the return of Anunnaki, and it's all happening in this year, right? In 2022, all this stuff started happening. This crazy stuff all started happening, and it's just bizarre that this is the 50-year anniversary for everything that happened in 1972, and just so happens it lines up with the Anunnaki in that book, that 2022 book. And if you watch the videos I showed before, my connections with those books, and the reason why I put any legitimacy into it, because, you know, it's connected to the 1972, and it's connected to 888, this whole thing, and all this stuff that I show. Hey, look, I have some connections with the book. It's bizarre, you know, with the numbers and the way things line up. And that's the reason why I'm giving you the take that I'm giving you. Because if I didn't, then I really wouldn't give you the take that I'm giving you on it. Am I connected to the Anunnaki? If that book is true, if that book is true and correct, yes, I am 100% connected to the Anunnaki. Am I an opposition or a supporter of the Anunnaki that are coming here to do what they're doing? Absolutely not. I don't take part in either side against the Anunnaki or for the Anunnaki, what they're doing. I'm giving you everything as through a neutral position. And here's something else that's a big kick in the pants for you. The Anunnaki, from what it sounds like in that book, are also neutral. So when the whole time I've been, you know, trying to tell you about the neutrality, and people have not, the humans haven't been able to concept it or understand it or to listen to it, you're going to find out that, you know, you think the Anunnaki are Republicans? You think they're for Democrats? You think they're for a white race, or they're for a black race, or for a Hispanic race, or an Asian race? Do you think that they're for any of your agendas? They're not. There's nothing even in that book that tells you that you should be worshiping this God or that God or any other God. Listen to the story that when you listen to 1010's reading the book, go and watch her channel, 1010 the Navigator, and it has all, she reads the book to you. But if you listen to you listen to them, they are neutral, which is also another bizarre thing, because that's what I've been trying to push to help the humans understand it. Look, the only way, you know, to evolve, to move forward, is to become neutral, for your species to become neutral. And if you listen to what the Anunnaki, the things that they talk about and stuff in that book, it's all about being neutral. There is no side. They're not telling you to choose a country, a government, a religion, a race. All that stuff is a mark against you. These are all marks against you. Any advanced alien species, not just the Anunnaki, other advanced alien species, if they look at your species and they see you have all these boxes that you check that separate you from the rest of your species, these are all marks against you individually. And individually becomes a collective of a whole. And that's when you start to make the decision on what to do with the entire species of humans. And these boxes, and to keep these separations and separate yourselves, you know, it goes all the way to the basics of sports in this country. You know, people who hate another team just because they're the rival team. To have hatred for somebody over a sport team is absolute bizarre. And it shows the ignorance and the very undeveloped nature of the human species. Think about that a little bit deeper. So yes, if the way the things are lining up, yes, it looks like it's true. The Anunnaki will be coming back this year, and everything's going to change when it happens. If they don't, they don't. Look, for me, I'm not sure. It looks like it. I'm not telling you that 100% that yes, they're definitely coming back. But what I'm telling you is, if you look at the evidence, you look at all the things, it does kind of add up and kind of make it look like, yeah, maybe this is really happening. Yeah, this is the only book out there that talks about this stuff in 2022, and yet all these things are happening. And you look at the whole thing, and like what Tintin was talking about just recently on her video about, you know, getting the your puppy shots, because you know that's what I call the puppy shot. You know, that's another thing too, right? Like in the Anunnaki talk about the contamination of the grace. Well, what if the puppy shot is the contamination of the grace? and that they want to see you all just get it. They're just like, well, we're just going to get them all the puppy shot. Because if you look at how people freaked out and how people acted towards other people, because they didn't get the puppy shot, and how they were very biased and how they treated people very poorly because they didn't do it, because it's my body, my choice, right? Then that becomes a mark against that person. And people who force other people to do it, and those people accept it, those are all marks against those humans. Instead of just saying, hey, if you don't decide to do it, you just don't decide to do it. That's on you, but it's your life. But apparently you don't have control of your own life when other people are telling you what you're able to do with your own life. It's like telling people that, if you do drugs, you should go to jail. That's your body. If you want to wreck it, that's on you. I don't do drugs. I don't condone drugs, but I'm telling you that personally, I don't care if somebody's doing drugs if it's not affecting me, right? Like, I would tell them, hey, this is harmful, it can hurt you. I can give them the information, but it's their life to do what they want to do. Should I lock them up and put them in jail and put them in a cage and incarcerate them and take time off their life because they were doing harm to their own life? It doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't add up. And these are marks, not the drug addict, but marks against the people who enforce those things on the people who are doing harm to themselves. Instead of trying to help those people to stop doing harm to themselves, they did more harm to them by putting them in an environment and taking time off their life and putting them in an environment where more harm could be inflicted of them, or an environment where, now their life has changed because because other people wanted to tell people what they can do with their life. That's the only thing that you have. It's the only thing that you for sure have. Your money is not your money because it doesn't say your name on it. That money belongs to the government. Your house belongs to the government. Your land belongs to the government. As long as it has taxes on it, if you have to put a tax tag, title, all these things, you have to put taxes on it, and you don't pay it, then the government can take it. It means it does not belong to you. Even your vehicle truly does not belong to you because they can come and take it. If you don't pay the taxes, or you drive around with your tag expired, they will tow your damn vehicle away from you. None of this stuff belongs to you. The only thing that you have is your life. And if you truly value your life and really what's going to happen, in the end, become neutral. And anyhow, so I think I went on a little longer than I thought I was going to talk about in this subject. Are the Anunnaki coming back in 2022? It lines up. Things are lining up saying that, yes, they will be coming back here in 2022. All this stuff is like pushing. Even like we're getting closer towards the end of the year, and now things are pushing harder for World War, for Civil War. Like all these things, like everything is happening so fast. Every day you turn on the news, and it's just more and more. It's happening faster and faster. It's like it's accelerating, just like the planet itself is accelerating. Now the days are shorter, right? Which means that this is going to be the shortest year in history. Well, of course it will be, because if the Anunnaki come here, it's over. But I'm pretty sure that this would be the shortest year in history. Well, 1972 was the longest year in history. And with that, enjoy the rest of the time in 2022 that you have left.
It is entirely possible that climate change could be causing the change in the spin of the Earth, because we're shifting about 1 billion tonnes of ice from one place to another, and it's changing from solid to liquid, and once it's liquid, it can keep moving.
The former president was in New York, seen leaving Trump Tower last night, and tonight here the first words from the former president while calling into a political event, saying, "Another day in paradise. This is a strange day."
And as this war drags on, another could be starting soon. I'm talking about Israel and Iran. The signs are looking ominous. Iran is threatening to walk out of the nuclear deal. Israel is practicing to strike Iranian assets.
Recent fires at food processing plants across the U.S. have several people speculating online if something else is behind them. This tweet notes a, quote, odd coincidence that, quote, 18 U.S. food processing facilities burned down in the last 6 months.
Self-managed abortion is legally risky and demands anonymity. But I wasn't about to let the government tell me what to do with my body.
High in the Himalayas, near the frontier with China, India's leader has come to rally the troops. It's mid-2020, and an outbreak of violence with Chinese forces in this remote, disputed border zone of Ladakh has shaken the whole of India.